This is the same. I'm gonna tell you guys, this is the same type of math that your investors will do, and you won't even know it. Like, this is blatant. This is blatant right here, right? But your investors would do the same exact thing.
What's 1 times 1?
1 times 1 is 1.
To multiply means to do what? To make more, right?
Yes.
Increase in number?
Yes.
Multiply?
Only, yes.
How can
yes.
1 times 1 equaling 1?
Right. Now, here's the other thing. Okay. Jesus Christ. 1 times 1 is multiplication. The whole point of multiplication is to multiply, is to make more. However, you, by calculating the multiplication, are not multiplying. Like, the purpose of utilizing multiplication is to identify the amount of quantities. You are not multiplying. Okay? You are not physically doing the multiplication with the math that you are doing in your brain. Now, even if you're a scientist or a mathematician or whatever the case is, and you're putting in code and things like that, yeah, you can actually be physically like making things multiply because of it, right? And if you're a game developer or something like that, right? If you're a game developer and you need to put that in, then yes. However, 1 times 1, you're not multiplying anything. You are, once again, not multiplying anything. You are trying to figure out what the quantity is. So with this, Terrance Howard, my buddy, there's no way that you can make 1 times 1 anything other than 1. No way. There's not a single way. So listen, Terrance, buddy, Lucius Lyon, I don't remember your name in Iron Man, whatever it is. 1 times 1 is 1. How do I know that? Well, I have my phone here. Okay. And on my phone, there's matter of fact, perfect. I have all of these applications on my phone. Yeah, go away, notifications. I have all these applications on my phone. All right. Now with this, the way that multiplication goes is I'm not going to multiply by saying these numbers that I'm about to say. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 in one row. That's one of your 2 factors of the multiplication of the two pieces, right? 6. And then how many rows do I have? And we're just going to assume I have, for sake of ease, 10 rows. 10 rows of applications. 10 rows of applications. So 6 times 10, or because it's 6 apps by 10 rows, or it's 10 rows by 6 apps, and that equals 60. 60 applications on my phone, okay? I did not say or create that by saying it. I did it to figure out how much the quantity is. And because of that, our purpose is not to multiply or duplicate or whatever the thing is, whatever it is that you multiply, okay? Now let's get to 1. If I have all right, so this is a box. Actually, no. What we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to color in some circles. This is just basic math. In this box here, in this container, there are 5 columns. Actually, I'll put this up here so it's easier for you. 5 columns by 6. Now, what we are going to do is figure out how many colored circles there are. Well, in this entire container, there's 1 circle that's colored in 1 row. There's 1 circle that's colored in 1 column. This is how you multiply. You take the amount of rows by the amount of columns, or the amount of streets by the amount of cities, or whatever the case is, to figure out how much the quantity of something is quickly and without having to count or add them. Instead, you multiply. So this would be 1 times 1, which gets you how many? 1, because it's telling you the quantity. Your job is not to multiply. Once again, how many columns on this row of 5 is colored? Well, we can go 2 times 5. There's 2 columns that are colored in this row of 5. So that gets us 2. And then we could do the same thing here. 1 times 1. Wait, not 2 times 5, my bad. 2 times 1. There we go. 2 columns in this one row. 2 times 1 gets us 2. 1 row is colored, or 1 column is colored in this row of 1. That gets us 1, which then we would add together to know that there's a total of 3. All right. There's so many different ways that we can do this. Now let's say we have the box method. We got the box method. All right. So here I literally suck at drawing boxes. We're going to do this together, and it's all right, Terrance. It's all right. It is all right. I had to take a couple teaching math to young people when I was in school. All right. So this we're gonna say is a box. This right here is a container, Terrance. Okay. This right here is a container. Now in this container, there's nothing. All right. There's nothing. So instead, this time we're not going to count the rows and columns. We're going to count the box. So in this one box, there are 0 containers. So what we would do to figure out the quantity, remember, we're not doing the math. We're not doing multiplication. There's one box of 0 containers. So that's 1 times 0, or 0 containers in one box, which gets you 0. Gets you 0. Why does having something multiplied by having nothing equals nothing? Because you're trying to figure out the quantity of physical items inside the container. Inside the container. This is about inside the box. This is about that, how much is in the box. What is the physical quantity of product? What is the physical quantity inside the box? This is not trying to figure out how many boxes there are. So if you're trying to figure out how many boxes there are, you do, well, there's one box in this house. So one box times only 1 in the column or in the row or in this area of the house. In this one area. Okay. If there was one box in 2 different areas or 2 different apartments, it'd be 1 times 2. Okay. Which would get you 2 total boxes. This would get you 1. This is 0. This is different. You're testing something. You're literally testing something different. You're testing here how many boxes there are. Right. There's one box. There's one box. But where you're testing it is different. You're testing it in how many apartments are there? Well, there's only 1 apartment and 1 box. Cool. Well, there's 1 box and 2 apartments. So you have 2 boxes. 0. Now, let's just say that I filled this up with a milk jug, milk gallon, or milk half gallon or something. I put 1 milk half gallon in there. Now, it's a little bit different. Hold on. It's about to get a little bit spicy, Terrance. It's about to get a little bit spicy. Look, I have 1 box. Am I testing the amount of boxes? No, I'm not. 1 box times I have 1 container. How many containers is in this box? There's 1. 1. How many containers do I have total? 1. We're testing, we're calculating, we're trying to figure out how many containers are in the box. Now, let's say that we did this. And it's about to get super spicy for you, buddy. Copy, duplicate. There we go. Oh, perfect. Look at that. Okay, Terrance. Now you see this? About to get really nice and spicy. Oh, crap. Go back. All right. Now, we're a little bit different. So before, this 1 box by 1 container, okay? There was 1 box by 1 container. Now, we have 2 boxes, not with 2 containers. We have 2 total boxes, and we have 1 container per box. right? One box. How many containers per box? Well, there's one. So if there's one box and one container per box, that's only one. One piece of product, one container that we have in total. But now we have two total boxes and each with one. That gets us two total containers. Now, let's say that this box had two containers and this one didn't. Well, first off, we have to then do these individually. We cannot do them at the same time. Okay? So we've got right here one box with two containers per that box, which gets us two total containers here. Here we have one box with one container per box, which gets us one. Now we add 1 and 2 to get 3. Now we have 3 total containers. We are not doing, there is in no way, shape, or form 1 times 1 will equal 2. And I understand that you are challenged in the multiplication aspect. I know. The crazy thing is, guess what? Almost all of America did not get financial education or good math growing up either. This is the same thing that your investors tell you, okay? I'm going to show you. Investors talk. I'm going to put it. So they're going to say, well, if your account goes up by 5% and then it goes back down by 5%, this is what they tell you. This is literally what they tell you. It goes up by 5%, then it goes down 5%. 5 minus 5 is what? 0. You had no loss. That's what they're going to tell you, right? If it goes up 10%, but it goes down by 9%, you still made 1%. This is percentages, not numbers. This is not just a number. This is percentages. Percentages are comparing something. And since it's comparing to something, to a total value, it does not work this way. You don't take the numbers and add or subtract them based on an actual number, right? Yes, you can subtract and add percentages, but that's to find out the total percentage that was deviated or changed or whatever the case is. Okay. However, let me show you why this doesn't actually work. Investor talk. So we're gonna go with this right here. So let's say that you had, or we're gonna make it easier. We'll go 10%. Not because I can't do 5, but because 10% is just much sexier. So if you have $100,000 in your account, okay. Now we're talking real numbers. Now we're not talking percentages. In this case, it's $100,000, and you have we'll go even easier. You have a 50% gain. Okay? You have a 50% gain. You're up 50%. Actually, I'm gonna put this on this end. You're up 50%. Well, 50% of 100,000 is 50,000. Or my bad, not percentages. 50% of 100,000 is $50,000. So $50,000 gets added to this, equaling a total of $150,000. All right, you went up 50%. Using the same exact logic as the investors talk, if you then lost 50%, again, it's not 50%, you're not losing 50% of this number, you're not losing 50% of the original number, you're losing 50% of this number. If you lost 50% of this right here, of the 150, 50% of the 150, well, 50% of 150, you multiply by 0.5, right? Gets you $75,000. 100,000 does not equal 75,000 as far as I've known. Does this make sense? This is what your investors tell you. This is what they literally tell, and they won't even show you the proof. They won't even, because a lot of times you cannot read your statements, your stock statements. You can't read it. Like, you just don't. You could read it easily. You could very very easily read it, but also it's crazy because you don't see as much of it because you're looking at the amount of stocks that you've gained or lost. You're looking at the amount of, shares that you have. That's what you're looking at. And so sometimes it might be a little bit difficult. But if you go up 50% and you drop 50%, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not 100,000 or it's not 50% of what you started with. They tell you this. You had a total net loss of 25%. So does 50% minus 50% equal 0? Well, that right there, yes, that is true. You're subtracting 50 percentages from 50. But what is it percentage? What is it in comparison of? That's the difference. And in this case, it's 100,000 was the first 50% that I was in comparison of. And then the second time was 150,000. So in this case, does that equal 0 loss? No. Okay, next, I want to show you guys another piece of this. The same exact thing. It's not even going to be anything different. What if this was, I don't know, $50,000, right? You went up by 50%, which got you to 75,000. What if you lose 50%? Well, 50% of 75,000, I got to do some math here. 37.5. I knew that. I literally knew that. What's wrong with me? So 50% of 75,000 is 37,500. Okay. So that's where you're at. So 75 is what you got to, but then you lost 50%. So your overall net loss, 37,500 divided by 50,000 is 0.7, or you dropped down. So once again, equals 25%. That's your net loss. Once again, don't let these people with this crazy math who don't understand stuff destroy you, because they will. They'll tell you this. They'll tell you, well, 50% minus 50% is 0. You didn't have any loss. No, it's 0%. That's it. But that's in comparison to what? Because this percentage is percentage of what? Accent. Well, what's the percentage? What's the percentage from? What is it comparing? Is it comparing my 100,000 on both? Because if so, then yeah, that's 0. Yeah, but it's not. That's the thing. This second 50% is on the new value of 150,000. Don't let them be crazy to you. Don't let them be crazy to you, because they'll